Behind the Shades.
Just a couple years ago, kind of came to this realization that I didn't feel like I was showing up as I wanted to, clothing wise. I was in mom land. I'm like changing diapers and doing all that kind of stuff. Well, at that point I wasn't anymore, but I had been doing it for a long time, and I really realized how much I loved um timeless clothing and just style, and watching how style evolves, because I'm having to costume different shows and stuff like that. And so like this kind of thing happened where a piece of my old love mixed with like this love that I have for fashion and for doing what I did for myself, which was to create an easy way to get dressed, a capsule wardrobe, so that I could feel good, feel confident, feel stylish, and use what I learned from costuming shows. And so that kind of molded together, and I've been doing that for a couple years. I have a capsule wardrobe course where I teach women how to do that to their wardrobe, and then I offer image coaching. And so yeah, and I'm 40, so I just like completely changed my life, which is kind of funny, but I love it.
I know one of my friends, she just celebrated one of her friends' 40th birthday. And I asked the question, and I felt bad because I kind of aged both of them. And I asked the question, do you have a mug that says 40 and fabulous? And she was like, yes, I actually gave her that mug. So when you mentioned 40, I was like, do you have that mug?
I don't, but I totally resonate with a woman having that mug at 40. I also think like it depends on like when you had children and stuff, but I'm heading into this, like, I was really nervous about 40. I mean, I was nervous about 30, but I was nervous about 40, but I realized that like 40 is where you truly do not give two craps about what people think about you. And for me, like my boys are kind of older. They can feed themselves, dress themselves, do all that stuff. They got their own lives going on. They're 12 and 8 or 9, 12 and 9. And so right now it feels like it's my time right now. And I think that's where the 40 and fabulous mug comes from. It's just feeling really good in your skin, and taking that time to really devote some time to yourself that you may not have been able to do throughout your 30s, and then didn't have the money to do throughout your 20s. So it's a little different. Yeah.
I would say I absolutely agree because where we are in North America, we spend most of our teens, well, not most, all of our teens, and probably half of our 20s in school. Mm-hmm. We're still trying to figure out this crazy thing called life, right? And then when we finally, well, I don't say escape, but when we finally graduate school, we're in our mid-20s, and then we're still trying to find out who we are. But once you have a family and you have children and things of that nature, and once they're old enough, like you mentioned, once they're they're 12, they're 9, they're 15, they're 20, and you're in your 40s, you're like, it's my time. Mm-hmm. And for many of us, right, we still look young enough. I know some mornings when we get up out of bed, we're like, my back and my hip, it's things are a little bit sore than they used to be. But for the mothers out there, how would you help them get to feel confident, feel stylish, feel beautiful, when for a lot of women, they may not feel that way after having a number of children? Right.
I think that the biggest thing that I would say is to be able to devote some of that time, right? So like that process of looking inward and figuring out who you want to show up as is almost an investment, right? It's a time investment that a lot of women are not used to making. They're not used to devoting time to themselves, because they're taking care of, kids or dogs or chickens. And so they are, or husbands or whatever it might be. And so I think that first and foremost, it's looking at yourself and really deciding, like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to show up as? And really determining what that is first before before we talk about your body or what colors you wear and all that kind of stuff, that stuff is really, really important. But I think um for those women who are just going through it, right, they need to kind of figure out, am I showing up the way that I think other people want me to show up as? And a lot of times we kind of realize that we are showing up as our parents want us to show up as, or our coworkers, or the people that we go to church with, or whatever it might be, because they're expecting this kind of version of ourselves. And that's what we wear or what we put on for other people. And so it really is kind of like, okay, I know I've been doing that a lot lately, even though I kind of went through this process, when I started this program, this business. But even as I turned 40 and as I, left the workplace to kind of come home and work my business, I've been going through this transition, the same transition. And I know that my husband's been like, whoa, like, what's happening with you? And I'm kind of like walking out of the house and my son's like, what are you wearing? I'm like, well, and so it's just one of those things where you first have to kind of figure that out. And once you figure out that you're going to show up as you want to show up, that is going to instantly give you that confidence boost. And then we start to look at like, okay, my body isn't what it was in its 20s or whatever. Is that something I want to change? Is it something that I'm kind of like, I'm actually really fine with that? And like, how can I dress this body of mine? How can I pick out things that are going to accentuate the things that I love? And same thing with colors. And so that kind of comes, down the line a little bit.
And I will piggyback off of that. And I think as we get older, we start to take on the perspective of others, as you mentioned, my church family, my personal family, my work family. And you begin to decide in yourself, because I don't know about your closet, but in my closet, when you go into the very back, that's like a blast from the past. That's like who I used to be.
Right.
All the stuff that maybe you can't fit in anymore. And you're like, oh, I can't believe I wore that. Right. Because the style in the 80s and 90s were probably different than the 2000s and the 2010s and the 2020s. So when you have women who feel that maybe as a mother, they can't present themselves a certain way, are you helping them to understand that they can, but maybe with a little bit of a twist? Is that my understanding of it?
I think that, yeah, obviously, we're not all in the position where we can, let's say we love spaghetti strap tank tops. Like, I'm just pulling something out of thin air. I could not wear that to work. I just left a private school, a Christian private school workplace. So like that would not work. Right. But I think that, but yes, if I still worked there, or when I did work there, I just left in July. And so when I did work there, I absolutely did take, do some of the wear some of the things that I wanted to wear. And yes, there was like, oh wow, like that's but I wasn't doing anything that was like breaking any rules. I wasn't being scandalous at all. I was showing up. If anything, I was a little bit dressier than like other teachers were. And so it was, but I didn't care. I got to a point where I was like, this is who I am. This is what I want to wear. And what I started to notice was that people were asking for my advice, or it was like, I was getting showered with all these compliments and stuff like that. And I think that that's, yes, it is going to be difficult for some women to show up maybe exactly how they want to be showing up, because they want to like, wear crop tops all the time and they work at a bank. Like, that's just going to be difficult. But I think it's important. And we could go into a whole nother thing that is about like the way that you hold yourself, like that has nothing to do with your clothes, and the way that you are true to yourself through your actions and your words, and the way that you hold yourself, and the way that you set boundaries and all of that kind of stuff, your self-worth. And so, but in terms of, I think that there is a way for you to bring in your own personal style, no matter where you work. And I love helping women try to figure that out because I think it's really important.